This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Duck It Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
PTL, coming at you!
Good Tuesday, January 4th. This is the second Bass Talk Live of 2022, where we're going to talk about bass fishing. And like I said yesterday, probably a little bit more bass fishing. I want to give a big shout out to Bradley Hallman for jumping in the studio yesterday with me for the first show of 2022. And today is another first. It is my first solo show of the new season. And we've got a good show today. We have Jordan Lee who's going to jump on. And I remember it was probably 2013, I had started a new website with Mark Jeffries called the College Bass Zone. And that was when the college fishing was really popping off. And designed the whole site and basically just focused strictly on the college anglers. And I'm standing at the Little Rock pool in Arkansas. And one of my buddy Darren, his kid was actually fishing in that tournament. And all the boats were taking off. And I was standing around a couple other guys. And Jordan Lee idles out of the takeoff jetty there. And I remember one of the people who works for Bass turned and said, he's going to be one of the best to ever play this game one day. And that was kind of one of the first kind of times that we kind of knew Jordan Lee was going to be the man. And sure enough, he was. But it's amazing for a 30-year-old what he has done over the course of his career. And then to think, well, I don't know if he has aspirations of being Clun-like, but the guy could have maybe 40 years left in his career. He's 30, Clun's 70, and still fishing. That's kind of crazy to think about. We also have a kind of a special guest, a mystery guest to come on the show here in about 2 minutes. I have one piece of business that I want to take care of. But yesterday I talked to Brad about probably one of the most heartbreaking stories from my childhood. And it was probably, I would say, 1997 when I went to the Decatur Fishing Expo and was informed that I had aged out of the trout pool, where you pay like $5 to catch little rainbow trout on little flies. And they were like, dude, you're way too old to be fishing in this trout pool. And that was kind of the end of my childhood right there. But kind of big news that came down. It was actually published on January 2nd. And in Oklahoma, we have known about this for a couple months. I know my buddy Brock I think he's the president now of the Oklahoma Bass Nation, has been talking to me a little bit about it. But Ed Godfrey came out on January 2nd in the Oklahoman, and the title of it is, "If It's Not a 180, It's Close to It. Oklahoma Wildlife Department Shifts Bass Management Strategy." And basically, they want to do away with the length limits that we have been so accustomed to over the years. They're saying Oklahoma anglers are currently not allowed to keep any largemouth or smallmouth bass they catch, which measure less than 14 inches. Under the new proposal, anglers could still keep a daily 6 largemouth or smallmouth bass combined, including bass under 14 inches, but only one of those bass can measure greater than 16 inches. Which is a big change. So obviously the first thing that comes to your mind is, how does that impact bass fishing tournaments? And there is a bass tournament exemption in this, and I'm not exactly sure how they work. I think they have to vote on it, or you can give them your opinions. I'm not I don't know how this works. Anyway, the bass tournament exemption for this is bass tournaments can receive an exemption to the rule that only one fish over 16 could be kept. Tournament anglers can keep 5 regardless of the length and then release them after weigh. And this is where it kind of gets interesting, though. Bass tournament directors would be responsible for obtaining the exemption, which would be shared with the tournament anglers on their cell phones. So you would basically have an app on your cell phone in case you get checked and have more than one fish over 16 inches and say, hey, I'm in a derby. Leave me alone. Bass tournaments will be required to file a report with the Wildlife Department within 30 days after the event, which contains information such as number of fish caught, weights, sizes, etc. If the report is not filed, the tournament director will not receive an exemption the next time. Bass tournaments have shared such information with the agencies in the past, but it was voluntary, and some bass fishing clubs would not file reports. And they're saying it's going to help them with fisheries biology and decision making in the future. So that's interesting. I'm not exactly sure. I will probably do some more research on that this week and see exactly when it is. But that would put a damper on the putting a couple 5 or 6 pounders in your live well and then taking a picture of them before you release them. Does that count for Wednesday night jackpots? How many boats? What do you have to do to register? There's a whole can of worms that opens. There's something here also that, it said, this kind of surprised me. 20 years of electroshocking survey show that 70% of the bass in Oklahoma lakes are below 14 inches in length. I would love to know what that is nationally. All right, let's go to this story. Now, I do not know what this story is, but we're going to bring in Charlie Hartley, and he texted me last night while I was at dinner, and he's like, man, do I have a story about a trout pool at a fishing expo. And then I got him on today to test him, to test the audio and stuff, and he's like, I don't want to spoil the story. So here he is. What's up, Charlie?
Happy New Year, everyone. How are we? Sound okay?
Yeah, you sound great. How are you doing?
I'm great. Florida has a real similar limit to what you just read, Matt, and we have to get exemptions even for Wednesday night jackpots and stuff. But I don't think we have the requirement down here to make the reporting. I like that step, but it is a hassle to get those exemptions even for the little fruit and jar tournament.
I don't know. The last time I was in Lake Griffin, it seemed like every bass was under 14 inches. I don't know how well that's working. Anyway, you got a trout pond story for me, Charlie?
Yep. At a sports show, same as you, we used to get cabin fever so bad, everyone came out to the sports show in Columbus, Ohio. And after I did well in Classic, I got to be on the hog trough. And my wife brought my little nephew out, and I walked around the show with him. And of course, there was a trout pool there. And when I was a kid, I fished in them, Matt. I loved it. It was just like fishing for real when you hadn't been fishing all winter. And never caught one of those trouts. Well, my nephew wanted to do it. We got in line. I bought the ticket. And we get in the pool, and of course, they give you a little piece of pork rind on a hook that's so dull it couldn't catch anything. The trout turned their nose up at it. But at the other end of the pool, there was a dad with a kid, or two dads with two kids, and they were catching them every time they put their bait in the water, and they hauled the biggest trout out of there. And they used to wrap them up in paper for you, butcher paper. They got kind of mad when you caught them. Well, my nephew talks me into trying again. We get in line again, and he's whining while we're in line. How come those guys caught them and we couldn't catch them? And all of a sudden, one of those fathers nudges me on the shoulder. And I was like, huh? I don't know this guy. And he holds his hand out like this. And I didn't know what he was up to. I was so naive, I thought, I had no idea what he was going to put in my hand. I feel something drop in my hand, and it's 2 mealworms. Oh, no. He had snuck mealworms in, and when we got in there, I put that mealworm opened that hook up a little bit, and handed my nephew that rod, and those trout ate on it like the first time smallmouth had seen gulp. So in every type of fishing, there's always a trick, Matt, even in the trout pool.
There you go. I think I'm hearing some feedback from you.
I'm sorry.
It'll settle down. And then the twist to that story, that was Jordan Lee and his dad that was at the other end of the trout pond all those years ago when he was 7.
Yep, you've got a great guest today. I was at I competed in the classic that he won, the first one he won, and an incredible young man, very humble too. Every time I try to compliment him, he just says, "Oh, I'm just lucky, sir.
I know he's a hard interview. That's why I wanted to get him on. I mean, you can only do, oh, shucks, man. I just went out and caught me 22 pounds today. I just caught one here, and then I picked up a jig and just slung it. It was just a good-looking spot. So I figured, why not start the first week out with 2 of the toughest interviews? You got Jason Christie tomorrow, who's going to stare me down. He's going to really make me work for the interview. And I'm going to try to get into the inner workings of Jordan Lee.
Yep. Don't try to bring up your tournament against Jason last year.
No, I don't.
That would be a good move.
I don't. How many days in a row now, Charlie? We did a feature on bestontour.net. Towards the end of last year, you were at like 720 consecutive days of catching at least a fish, a crappie, a bluegill, a catfish, a drum, a largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, some type of fish, either in Ohio, Florida, driving along side roads, ponds, pools, puddles. How many days now?
We're real close to 850, and I don't see an end in sight. It's become a habit now. Sometimes it's a responsibility that it's something I have to fit into the day, but most of the days it's something I'm doing anyway. So I think it'll go on until I can't hold a pole.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
850 days.
And I'm out here practicing West Toho every day, preparing to kick your butt. So you better bring it.
That I would gladly finish second to you in the in the Toho Open coming up here next month, Charlie. I feel the same
about you. Let's do first and second. That'd be great.
Folks, I'll tell you one thing. Every time I see Charlie, regardless of what happens, and everyone likes Charlie Hartley, but there's a reason everyone likes him, regardless of whether he has one fish or whether he's in the top 10. He says it's a great day. Do you know why? Why is it a great day? Your light just went out. Charlie just went into club mode in the shop. He says it's a great day because I got to go fishing.
Yep. Every morning at a tournament when they sing the national anthem, I get choked up because I'm exactly where I would be if I could be anywhere in the world that morning. I'd be right at that tournament. And we are so fortunate. Not many people get to say that. You
don't ever get immune to that? You don't ever get the just let's get it over with and get going? Like, how do you still get caught up in that? I wish I could. Like, I feel cheated with it because I covered so many of the Elite Series and everything. It's like you just hear over and over and over and you kind of lose it. But, man, like, you've been able to keep that for all those years.
Thank God. I don't know what would happen if I lost the passion. I heard you talk yesterday about coming in early to a weigh-in. You're no longer my friend if you've ever done that. I've never come in early to a weigh-in, even with 0 in the live well. Once I caught the very first Elite ever, I caught big bass, a 10-4 on the very last cast. And I really believe any tournament you can catch big bass of the tournament on the last cast. I've seen it happen.
Well, there you go. There's Charlie Hartley's trout pond story. Thank you. We would keep Charlie on, but like I said, Charlie was like, dude, I'm going fishing as soon as we're done with this segment. So I greatly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far, but I say I'll greatly appreciate you coming on, Charlie.
Can't wait to see you, Matt. Good luck today.
All right, thanks. Good luck to you too. I don't know if you need luck in Florida though. You're going to go out and throw a. Can I say what you're going to throw today? Is that a secret?
I'm not ashamed.
Tiny torpedo.
Absolutely. It's not the tiny. It's the
baby.
It's
the big torpedo.
It's a baby. The tiny is real small. The baby's in the middle, and then there's a magnum.
The baby torpedo.
Yep, the baby torpedo.
Well, have fun today, Charlie.
I promise I will. You too.
All right, see ya. All right, that was Charlie Hartley, longtime listener of the show, and I think he's guest hosted a couple times while I've been out on the Opens. We are going to run a couple quick ads. We're going to get Jordan Lee in here, and we will be back with the second show of the 2022 season of BTL.
The Ultimate Fishing System by Lowrance. Your choice of powerful fish-finding tools, all connected. From sonar and trolling motor to navigation and networking. To fit the way you fish. All with touchscreen control from HDS Live, the heart of your system. Find more, see more, catch more with the Ultimate Fishing System by Lowrance. Upgrade to the Ultimate Fishing System and get up to $1,000 cash back.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
One of the cool new jig heads that Big Bite came out with is the Ram head, named after the Golden Ram Cliff Perch, and it's really designed specifically for the Ned style. But one of the cool things about this jig head and the Gamakatsu hook that Big Bite put in it, especially in the 3/16 ounce model, is how versatile it is. You can actually rig it 4 or 5 different ways instead of having to go through a myriad of different jig heads. This will get the job done. A bunch of different jig heads. You can actually very efficiently get the job done with the new Ram head. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the Matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that Matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Welcome back to Tuesday, January 4th, Bass Talk Live. And if you're watching on YouTube, you see there is Jordan Lee. And I find Jordan Lee very interesting. You're an enigma because you're just really good and always have been really good. Jordan, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
What's up, Matt? No, it's awesome to be here. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I was watching Charlie. By the way, Charlie's awesome, man. 850 days.
Yeah, so he so he does like that sign company in Ohio, and then he winters in Florida.
Yeah.
So he's got he uses like these little trout lures with plastic, like 64th ounce stuff that they use on like the White River, and he's got some ponds and streams and stuff. So even when it's like really nasty raining or anything, he can kind of go down and at least catch a bluegill. And then he obviously fishes every day when he's in Florida and has access to ponds and stuff. So he's got just a plethora of options, but I think it's just cool that every single day. I mean, like there's some days like with some tornadic activity and rain and nastiness and stuff, and like every day he catches a fish.
That's cool. Yeah.
What do you think the most number of days you've consecutively fished is? Like over the course of the last 15 years for you? Like have you done 30, 40, 50-day marathons, or do you like a day off every now and then?
Yeah, I like a day off. I mean, I love to fish. But now I'm kind of like, I like to choose the days I go, like especially going to like somewhere like Smith or I want everything to be like lined up perfect. Like I want the water level or the water color. Like I want to know I'm going to go blast them. I mean, I try to go on those days now where it's like, prefrontal, just where I fished enough to know like, the days they bite. And there's certain days for sure, especially like on Smith, or even Gunnersville or wherever that, you get those certain days that the fish, you got a feeling the fish are going to feed. And that's the days I like to go. I mean, I don't like to go out there and just absolutely grind if I'm going fun fishing.
Are there, you're in kind of the Mecca. We actually did, you don't live on Gunnersville anymore. You moved back to Coleman, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And that's where you have the nifty shop and all the life goal stuff. And, well, now you got a kid and all sorts of crazy stuff. But you're still kind of in the Mecca there where you have a ton of different options. Like, can you wake up in the morning on those fisheries and say they're going to be biting on Wheeler today, or they're going to be biting on the river today, but not here, and you just know like it's a day for X fishery in the area where you can just pick the best one? Or
yeah, you can. I don't really do that, but sometimes I'll get you. But yeah, I do that. Like at Wheeler, like my favorite time to go there is when they're in the bushes. So I'll in like March, and I'll watch for the water level, and I'll know when it jumps up to 556, or I think it's 556 on Wheeler. Yeah, that's right. And I know like if it's that, if it's in the bushes good, and it's like, I know I'm going to go catch them. So, or get bit, pretty consistent. So yeah, you can do that. I mean, that's what I do around here. Like Gunnersville, I really like fishing this time of year when the water gets some color. After a big rain or something, you get a lot of current. Like I like to fish like that. So yeah, you can do that, but I don't honestly, probably the most I fished, I'm just guessing, would probably be like without just nonstop, probably 2 or 3 weeks, something like that maybe, but that's not very long. But
if you had to pick one lake in Alabama and perfect conditions, like like what are the ideal conditions on your favorite lake there? Like you get one day, where are you going? What time of year? What conditions are there?
If I'm going to catch numbers and big fish, I would say some of my best days, like throwing probably Gunnersville, when it's like the water's from now till like February, and let's say the water temps in the mid 50s, and there's a ton of current, like they're pulling 120,000, and the water's muddy. That's when you can really, you can really blast them like on a chatterbait and a crankbait. So, I mean, that's probably some of my most fun trips. Yeah, but when the water's got color around here, that's when you can catch them, like on any of these lakes, because most of the time they're not off colored. So when they do get off colored, those fish kind of rush to the banks and get around, and they eat.
Gunnersville still as good as it, quote unquote, used to be, or is there like smaller windows now where it still shows out?
Yeah, it's just different. I don't fish out there near as much as I used to, so I don't fish out there much at all, really. I'll fish here and there, but it's just changed a lot. But they're still in there. This fall and winter, I think they really smoked them. But I don't really go out there as much as I used to. But if I know the fishing can potentially be good, I'll go out there.
What do you know about Lake Darbone?
Well, I spent about a week there, so I've never pre-practiced for an MLF event.
Really?
Never gone beforehand and gone to look around, because, I've been to a lot of these places now, and in our format, you got to just find them, during the tournament, during practice,
right?
Whatever. And I know how to get around, but this lake, I was like, I had some time. I had a couple days, and I went over there, and I looked at 2 of the lakes that we're going to potentially be fishing. But it's sketchy. It's the sketchiest lake I've ever been on.
That's what I've heard. I've seen guys post about it, and I mean, you're talking about some of the lakes you've been to that are really sketchy. I mean, throw like What would you say? What would you say the top 5 sketchiest lakes are, just as far as like you've got a good limit in the boat and you're like, all right, now I got to get back? Would you put like the Sabine up there?
I wouldn't put the Sabine up there because most of the time you can run the channel. You can
Okay.
run. I would say the sketchiest places would be, well, the second place we're going, Lake Fork. It's pretty sketchy when you get out of the boat channels.
Mm-hmm.
It can
Santee?
be. Santee's probably really sketchy. I've never been there.
Toledo Bend? I mean, if you go north up past the bridge.
Toledo Bend, I would say any lakes with timber, but yeah, those are some good choices for sure. I haven't been to Rodman Reservoir off the St. John's. I heard it's sketchy. It's got a lot of timber.
What's that one? What's the one on Georgia, Florida line that they always go to? Yeah, Seminole. I think that can get pretty sketchy.
So the whole lake is like, if you've ever been to Seminole and you've seen Spring Creek on Seminole, where it's just timber everywhere and you can run one little boat lane, that's how the whole lake is, pretty much. So you can't get out of the boat lane. The boat lane is literally like not very big at all. Like you're barely fitting 2 boats like this way. Like it's very small, but the fishing sucked too.
So what are you glad you went?
Oh, yeah, I am really glad I went, just to kind of get a feel for just how to run, because it is like you can't get out of the boat lanes there, or you'll definitely do some damage. And I went in my aluminum boat too because I don't have a big boat yet. And yeah, I mean it's pretty bad.
Is this a fishery where you have a 30-minute run time and then it's a stop fishing at the end of the day, right? So you don't have to worry about getting back to
Correct.
a spot is this one of the fisheries where we're really going to see that play a big role, where guys can get way back and stay back and not have to worry about getting back?
Yeah.
And
if you had to get back, I don't know, you would really have to pay attention, because those boat lanes are super windy, and if you're a long ways away, you can't like rush it. You can't just take off and go 70. So yeah, that really, and I'm learning more and more every time we fish is, guys that have taken advantage of that in our tournaments, where they're a long ways off and they don't have to run back. And I'm starting to figure that out. You can really, it's not as much of a gamble as it used to be, where you're like, if you're going to go fish an open, you're like, man, I got to make a long run down to Kissimmee. I'm going to fish the south end of Kissimmee, and I got to look at my time. And now that's all out the door. You fish, and you can fish to the last minute. So those gambles and long runs are not part of the equation anymore. I know you're a mathematician, so
I wouldn't go that far. Like, I know basic. So rumor has it, I probably shouldn't even mention this to you. So rumor has it that the college bass series, after they gave the boats to the guys, like basically changed their way that they give the boats to the college anglers after they got yours back after 2014. That they got it back, and that you had fished out of it, so to speak.
Yeah. So I got a skeeter, and this was in 2014. So
yeah, it's far enough. You could talk about it now. 50, 70, 90. Yeah, you're like nine years past. I think there's a statute of limitations there.
Yeah, there's a statute of limitations for sure. But yeah, so I got this boat, and I signed up for all the opens because I wanted to make the elites and wanted to try to. But, I got the boat to use for the year. And, yeah, I went to the Red River, the Arkansas River, Champlain. And so, I mean, I used the boat. I mean, I really did. But, so it was beat up for sure. And I remember, like, right before I had to turn it in, like, they're just like, yeah, you got to bring it in tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing's trashed. And I mean, it wasn't that bad, but I mean, it was bad enough where I looking back now, I'm like, man, I wish I'd have like cleaned it up a little bit more. But yeah, it was. But somebody, I'm sure, I mean,
Someone got a Jay Lee boat.
Yeah, they got. I mean, I'm sure it worked really good. I bet it's still running.
All right, so you mentioned that 2014 season, and I was doing a little bit of homework before the show, and there was one event that really stuck out to me. So it just seems to me like every single year you have something that like elevates your career, which is really rare in this sport. We see a bunch of guys who have a big win or a big year, and then there's a couple years off, and it's really hard because of, let's be honest, there is a factor of randomness in professional bass fishing. There is a little bit of a luck factor. It is really hard to remain consistent. KVD's under 12% winning percentage over the course of his career, and he's won more than anybody. But so 2014, you make the Elite Series. You fish the Elite Series in 2015. You have that good classic there at Gunnersville where you probably would have won if you'd figured out what you figured out on the final day, on the first day with those fish moving shallow. That's a whole side note, but fair point on that. Like if you'd gone up there and done that on the first day, like you maybe might have won it as a college angler, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, you always look back. But, I mean, I never look back at that tournament like, man, I should have won that tournament. I've never really said that about a tournament because you either win or you don't.
Right.
But yeah, the fish that was an incredible bite that I was on.
They were there. You just didn't fish for them the first couple days.
Yeah, that was an awesome bite though. That was probably the best flipping bite I ever been on. Big ones. And it was during the Classic. So, I mean, I wish it had been like a 2 more day event because, I mean, it was
game
fun.
On. So that was that. So then you go into 2016 and we go up north. And there's an event that I have circled here for a number of different reasons. And I remember covering this. And I would say in all the time I covered you, it was like the second time I'd seen you show like what I would call like true emotion. The first one was when you pulled those 2 fish out at the Classic, like, when you were with the Auburn and you were holding them and we were all like, that kid is jacked up right now. And then the second was like, dude, you were bitterly disappointed after the second place finish on Cayuga Lake. It looked like you were kind of in the catbird seat to win it. You had KVD with a strong final day. He ends up beating you by a pound at that event. And I remember a bunch of guys saying, man, like, and KVD saying in all of his interviews, like, Jordan's going to have his time. This is just the way things work. He's going to win a bunch in the future. We're seeing how solid he is. But I look back at your stats following that, and you remember you have not won at this point in your career. I mean, you don't have the heavy hitters and the Red Crest and the back-to-back Classics and the AOY and all that. But your following events following that second place, and I want you to go back and kind of relive that, are 5th, 9th, 4th, 25th, 14th, 16th, 38th, and then you won your first Classic on Conroe. And that was your first real string of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's like a whole season's worth right there. But, man, you went on a tear after that and kind of concluded it with that first place. What do you remember about that event? And do you think getting that close and then having KVD beat you by a pound, did something kind of click, motivate you, drive you to that insane stats for the next 8 derbies?
Yeah, what I remember about that event is, as far as the fishing went, like I remember, so that was our first trip to Cayuga, or my first trip. And my brother and I were kind of sharing info at the time. And I remember him in practice, we were talking. I'm like, man, I found some smallmouth on beds. And he's like, well, I got on this deal pitching a drop shot around on this north end. And I'm just kind of pitching holes and stuff. And he's like, I can't really see them though because it's so cloudy and windy. And so I remember, going up to the north end, and I caught a couple. This was in practice. Caught a couple, nothing big, but it was super windy and cloudy, and you couldn't see anything. But I didn't even really put 2 and 2 together. First day of the tournament, I remember I caught, some big. I say big. I caught 19 pounds, 20 pounds of smallmouth.
Strong.
And was like in, I don't know, 15th, 20th, something like that, maybe 20th.
Yeah, that was a slugfest early on in that thing.
Yeah. And the next day I go out and I caught a couple smallmouth, just, a couple maybe 4-pounders, 3.5 pounders. And I didn't have anything else. I burned them up, and it was I remember it got glass calm and sunny, and I was like, I need to go. I got like 2 waypoints up here where I got bit. I remember Matt telling me, and he had a pretty decent first day, I think. And so I went up to where I got bit right on those waypoints, and I'm looking in the water, and it's gin clear, crystal clear, and seeing these holes, and I started whacking them. And it was like the light bulb went off, like, okay, they're either spawning in these holes, or I don't know what they're doing, but I don't know if they were spawning or just setting up in them. But anyways, caught like 22, 21 pounds, and then was in the lead, I think. And anyways, I led the third day. And then the final day, it was just that we had a big front, something changed. All the guys kind of struggled that last day. And just didn't catch enough to win. And I remember I was super disappointed because I thought, man, this is my shot to win first ever tournament. I'm on the fish, I know what to do. And Kevin ultimately caught basically one more fish that put him over the top. Had the fish on under a boat dock that it would have been close. It was a 3-something. I had a 1.5 pounds. I lost by a pound. It could have won it. So and that was at the very end of the day too. So, when you got the fish on the last minute and it sitting on a cable or whatever, and it just come off, that's brutal. But yeah, after that tournament, maybe I got a little shot of confidence that, that's all it takes sometimes as a young angler. I didn't really probably have a whole lot of confidence as far as winning. I'm trying to make checks and trying to stay in it. Just trying to find my way, really.
What's amazing is that in the entire time that you fished the Elite Series from 15 to 2018, you only had 9 finishes below 50th place. And you're talking about a field of over 100 anglers there. So that's right around just 2 finishes below 50th a year. So that's insane consistency. But my question is, like, what did Kevin say to you after that? Because you're 24 years old. You'd probably done some stuff with the Toyota and the team and dynamic stuff with him. Like, What is the one-on-one? Like, obviously you have it behind stage where all the media and stuff is. But was there like a moment between just you two after that Cayuga event? Do you remember?
I don't remember after that. All I remember after that was, I think he may still be sponsored by Busch Light. And I remember him on stage just like spewing the beer. And,
Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah. And that's all I remember is like, losing to Kevin and having the Busch Light getting sprayed everywhere. And I'm like, God, that sucks. That tournament. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say I don't remember anything. Kevin never. I don't think we got to speak right after that tournament, but he spoke to me. I remember backstage at the classics, the first classic in particular, and we got to talk a lot right before I won.
Really? So, like, you had a good idea that you were going to win?
I knew I had a chance to win that tournament because I'd weighed in early, and he was backstage and was just kind of talking to me, and he was super pumped for me.
Like telling you what to expect, telling you how to handle it, or
not really. Just I don't know the exact words he was saying to me, but he was just giving me, I guess, words of encouragement and just super happy for me, really. I remember just coming out of his way, and nobody else was really doing that at the time. Mm-hmm. Everybody focused on, their the tournament or whatever they were weighing in, and he was out of the tournament, I believe. I don't know if he.
There was one year he didn't qualify.
Yeah,
it might have been that 17.
Could have been, but he was definitely came out of his way to talk to me backstage, and was just I can just remember him just being super excited for me. Really, I don't know if he gave me like encouragement or told me what to expect, anything like that, but he was pumped.
That's cool.
Yeah,
we got one more little piece of news about that 2016 at Cayuga. So it spawned an article, and the title of the article. And I know you said you listened to some of the BTLs, but I've grown fond of the spinning rod, and Jeffrey's called Dinkin' and Duncan, all this stuff.
Yeah.
The title is the article from July 10th, 2016 that is about you is yes, real men use spinning tackle. And I found this, and it was on. It just talks about how you
real men.
Yes, used a bunch of spinning tackle like Cayuga and all that. And he said, the reason I've addressed this subject and went into so much detail about tackle is because far too many anglers reach for a casting outfit when a spinning one would do a better job. Don't be fooled. Real men fish with spinning tackle.
There you go.
It was a blog post. Did you write that, or was that a...
I had a ghostwriter, but I definitely was behind that article. For sure.
And then you go out in 2018 and you win the Classic on Hartwell on the final day with the spinning rod, right?
Yeah. My whole thing was like, you can be more efficient with the spinning rod, obviously, if you're throwing like finesse stuff. You don't have to throw, bait. And at the time too, guys. There was only a handful of guys too that were like really. Dominant too with the spinning rod over time, and really took it to heart.
But you've used it. I remember. So I'll divulge this. I remember I had a Bass Nation regional in Alabama.
Yeah.
And I called you up and I said, what would you suggest? You gave me no waypoints, nothing. You just said, learn how to use a spinning rod.
Yeah.
And that was honestly kind of the genesis of when I started really having my eyes opened up to it. And I'll tell you why. I was going down a stretch. We were staying at, it was at Gunnersville. That's no secret. We were staying at a place on the water, and there's a row of docks straight across from it. And you had said, dude, you throw a spinning rod, throw some finesse. These fish, like they live there. Like you can catch them. And you didn't tell me where or anything. Well, I went down this row and I caught like a 5 and a 6 in practice, and I shook off. I put a little screw lock in drop shot, and I'm like, donk. Oh, shake it off. Oh, that's a big one. And I come back to the hotel that night, and the hotel has a balcony that overlooks this row of docks. So I'm literally sitting there going, dang, I think I could win the tournament off this row of docks. I'm like drinking a beer, looking at the spot that I just cannot wait to go out and fish. And this dude who's made like 18 state teams comes over and he's, oh, are you catching them, Panger? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm not kidding you. He looks and he goes, you fished that row of docks across the way yet? And I said, no. I lied to him. I straight up lied to him. And he said, yeah. He goes, they looked really good. And here's how I know it. So my buddy practiced with me the day I shook them all off, right?
Yeah.
He practiced with this guy the next day. He said, dude, we went down that row of docks power fishing and had 2 bites. And I said, well, I shook off like 15. I was like, exactly. It was at that moment that I knew, like, dude, there is a time and a place for the spinning rod. And you incorporate it a lot into your daily fishing.
Yeah, especially when, around the spawn, and, you've seen guys really excel and just get a lot of bites and bigger bites when, they're spawning. And that's just an example. But, like Gunnersville, around that time, I think you were, I think they were spawning or wanting to. And there's something about, just finesse tactics then that you can just catch the biggest ones that are there, and they just bite. It's just the deal, and they don't want to go down on the bait. They don't, when you pitch a drop shot around them, it's just sitting there in their face. it gets those bites.
Do you think that's it? So I've talked with some guys about it, and they think it's, hey, everything goes dunk, and it sits in the bottom, it goes down to the bottom, and then something goes dunk, and then boom, there's something at their eye level where they follow it down, and it stops, where they're like, whoa, this normally doesn't happen, and then the reaction kicks in, and they just suck it in?
Yeah, that's what I think it is. And, that's exactly what I mean, especially for a drop shot. I mean, that's why it's just so deadly, I think. And it's just sitting in front of their face, because those fish aren't on the bottom. They're not glued to the bottom when they're on beds, or typically, I mean, especially if the water's a little clearer, they're kind of sitting up off the bottom. Just, I mean, whether it's 6 inches, 10 inches of, whatever. I mean, so that's why it's so deadly, in my opinion.
Well, we're talking about the classics and the spinning rod. I have one piece of memorabilia that I want to show you. Then we're going to pay a couple bills. You good to stick around for another segment, because I want to get into some business stuff with you?
Yeah, and I actually grabbed a few things too. We don't have to do it right now. We can do it at the end. I got some baits, a little trivia. I know you like baits, and so I counted them up. And these baits, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got about 8 baits, and they've won all my major tournaments. I cut
the actual bait.
The actual baits, I cut them all off. I counted up. It's about 900,000 of
in winnings.
In winnings between 4 tournaments.
Holy cow! So I'm going to show you my piece of memorabilia, and then we're going to take a break, because that is an excellent teaser to keep people around. We're going to pay a couple bills. We're going to come back and then show your baits that has won 900,000. I had to get it off the shelf here. Hold on just a second.
All right.
So after Lake Hartwell, and if you're listening on iTunes, this is a shadow box, and it is Jordan Lee roaring like a lion, and it's signed, and it says 2007-2018 Bassmaster Classic Champ, and there is a vial of water in this shadow box. You can see that there on YouTube. And then there is also a certificate of authentication. I don't know. It took me like 7 trips to Hobby Lobby to actually get this right. But there's a little glass vial in there. And in that water, it says, this vial contains water taken from Jordan Lee's live well on the final day of the 2018 Bassmaster Classic just prior to weigh-in. What it was I was backstage, and I was really into... let me set this down without breaking. It's like my prized possession here. I was really into the memorabilia stuff that year. So the 2018 season, I've got like a line, balls, and broken coal tags and baits and also, chewed up frogs and stuff. And I was like, man, like if I know who's going to win the tournament, like it would be awesome to get some of that water. You're like, everything's going on behind stage. I don't know if you even remember this. And I hand you an empty.
Yeah.
What do you remember? I hand you an empty bottle, and I said, dude, you cool with it? Just fill this bottle up with water. And you're like, huh?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, we haven't gone in the weigh-in yet. You're like, I think you got a shot to win, but I don't know. I don't know if you went. Did you grab anybody else's live well water, or was it just mine?
It was just yours, but I also couldn't be like, yeah, you got it in the bag. Like, we're not allowed to say that stuff behind stage.
It was pretty close, though. So you had some confidence in me. But it wasn't like just I had a walk in the park. I didn't win by 10 pounds. But I remember you coming out, and you're like, dude, get your live well water. I want to scoop some of this up. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't obviously care, but after the fact, you had the winning live well water. I don't know if that's probably ever been done before, but that's cool.
Probably not.
No,
I've got the water bottle somewhere. Jeffries has redone the studio like 2 or 3 times, but there is some more. If you're interested in that, I could try to maybe find some and send you
you could send me all of it.
Lake Hartwell water. I saw on your deal all the jerseys and all the winning stuff, and now that you're a memorabilia guy, we're going to take a break, and we will be back with Jordan Lee as he gives us how many baits?
I don't know. I'm going to estimate like 10.
10 baits. And let's just make it a cool million. 10 baits that has won $1 million. Actual baits over the past year.
10 baits.
All right, we'll be back in a few.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us.
But none of them knew us.
None of them were us, except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
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 Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
So, you're looking to buy fishing electronics, huh? Are you also looking for true experts to help guide you through it? Well, at the Bass Tank, you've come to the right place. We are live forward-facing sonar pioneers with thousands of hours spent learning through winning trophies, cashing checks, and just having fun. Whatever brand you need, we have it. We offer free shipping, and we have 2 financing options available. Our experts are here to help you. Call us today or visit thebasstank.com.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duckett Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. There's 1 or 2 techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action as a crankbait, especially like the square bill, IDT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
We're back for the second BTL of the 2022 season. And Jordan Lee's kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen that video of Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson where they're like introducing Tiger Woods and they start running through his accomplishments and Mickelson's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah, whatever.
That's like, I'm not sure. Are you back-to-back Classic champion Jordan Lee? Are you BPT Angler of the Year Jordan Lee? Are you Heavy Hitters champion Jordan Lee? Are you BPT champion? Like if you were to put a moniker before your name.
I don't know, Matt.
Champion angler?
Just
champion angler Jordan Lee?
Fisherman. That's all you get.
You are a fisherman.
I am a fisherman. I love it, man.
All right. So before the break, Jordan teased, he said you've got a number of baits that...
Yeah, I just thought
get into it.
Yeah, I just thought you may, you like memorabilia, you like baits. I mean, who doesn't? We're fishermen. Yeah. But, since when I won the Classic in 2017, I cut off the baits that I won on, and and I did the same thing in 18, and when I won the Heavy Hitters tournament in 20, I cut them off, and then 2019, the first ever MLF tournament, I won on Toho too. I cut the baits off. So I've only really won 4 major events. I did win the World Championship, but 4 regular tournaments, and so I cut them off just because I thought it's cool. I mean, have the baits, and and just a couple of those happen to be classic winning baits.
All right, let's see it.
Let's see them real quick. Yeah, we'll go through them. And these have just been in a drawer. I don't like have these in my room. Like,
why not, man?
I don't know.
You need to get those like shadow box, like Jeffries has back here. He has Steve Kennedy's Huddleston trout and bass tricks and jig from when he broke the record. He's got Paul Ice's crankbait, and you got to shadow box those things. Here's what you need to do: if you haven't gone to the MLF website and seen Jordan Lee's in the shop or whatever, shadow box those things, put them right above the jersey that you want them in.
Yeah, that'd be
and cool. Now you've got the bait and the jersey.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I need to do that, but I just haven't yet. So this is the first bait. So this was at the 2017 Classic. This is a Buckeye mop jig, half ounce with a Strike King Space Monkey. This is the exact one. You can see the teeth marks on. It's got teeth marks like right there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In the head where I would drug it. So I drug this one on the point.
Right under the bridge on the left.
Right under the bridge on the left.
With a broken down boat.
Broken down boat. Yep. Caught, 27 pounds on that the last day. But during the tournament too, I caught them on this bait, 5XD, and caught a couple.
Exact hooks, hook rash, everything like that is the bait.
That's the bait. Yeah. Caught a 7.8, 7.5 the second day, and like a 6.5 back to back, and didn't have anything in a live well. And there were some giants swimming with it, with that 7.8, and I pulled them, but I mean I caught a couple on that one for sure. So those were the two main baits from that tournament. But the last day was all this bait. Never broke it off or nothing. This is the exact one. And so
would you call that a mop?
It's a football mop.
What is with the mop? I've never gotten that. Like, I know guys do that. The guys out in the Carolina, like, seriously, why did you go like, oh, I think I'll throw a mop on this instead of just a normal.
Well, the only reason I picked up this bait is because I had a lot of confidence in this bait, because in the prior years on Gunners where we were throwing it during the summer, and you think a living rubber is like a wintertime deal, but I wanted something with a lot of bulk, and I was like, man, there's some giants on this thing. I can't throw anything big enough, so I wanted like just a giant profile, and that's the only reason I picked it up, is because I was around. I knew there were some big ones sitting up there. And the half ounce because it was super shallow. But yeah, those were the two baits from that tournament.
All right, 2017 Classic.
Yeah, this is 18. This is your kind of deal. Cinco, green pumpkin blue, nail weight in the head, like a. It's even in there. It's
completely buried in the head though, not a true Nico where the weight is outside of the head. Explain that one.
Yeah, so this is how I always threw it, with the bait inside of it. But looking back, I actually was doing it right because I was skipping this around docks too.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was in there, it would torpedo in there, and I was really putting in places too, and on the side of docks. But yeah, that was the deal. The
O-ring on that too, then just your standard like wacky tool ring.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that cold clear stuff in 2018
with those like nose forceps that spreads it and puts it in.
Yeah, I got that, but this was just this is for all you youngsters. This is pre-live scope and all that. So, and I was catching on a jerkbait too in the morning. This is that, of course, the mega bass. So you can still, I got the line. I just cut the line off right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got the hook rash.
That's stuff. A +1, and looks like is that a bone pearl?
Something like that. Yeah,
pearl bone.
I don't even know the color. I don't even think I have any of these anymore.
What made you pick up that wacky Cinco on the final day? Because I mean, it got kind of tough on that final day, and you went to town.
So the first day I caught. I caught some fish on the jerkbait, and I was like, I want to go fish some docks. And the first dock, and it was literally probably the luckiest spot I've ever got in my entire life.
Really?
Back. And it was over a 6-pound largemouth. And I pitched up near the dock. Okay. and this is probably about 9 o'clock in the morning with this. And it was sinking on the end of a dock in like 15 foot. It was sinking, and I saw like a flash. But I'm like, I'm about to even make the cast. And my line just stopped, and the fish was suspended on this dock, and it was a 6-pounder. It was incredible. I mean, it was like I just went to some docks where literally, like, I had a couple bites around that area, and I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I mean, it was just one of those deals. It wasn't like I knew that this was just gonna be lights out, but that was extremely lucky bite. I mean. And then I ended up catching some on it, you know, but I mean, it wasn't like a lights out deal.
All right. So we got the classic baits.
Yeah, we got the classic baits. So yeah, that was, you know, 300,000 a piece on those.
600 grand on a, was that a 5 or a 6-inch Senko? 5.
That was a 5-inch. Yeah.
5.
So
jerkbait Senko, ugly mop jig.
Ugly mop jig.
And a 5 XD.
Yep. And this is the heavy hitters tournament, 2020. I caught them off brush piles. Caught a lot of fish on this Berkeley 10-inch power worm and plum.
Plum. Okay, go through that. What is with plum? Like, that thing is every single person that fishes a 10-inch worm. Why don't you go have that plum? Like, plum is the color. Like, it's the only. If you had to pick one color, I would say the big worm guys go with plum.
Yeah, I don't honestly. I don't know the reason why. I don't.
So, like, did you pick it up because everyone else throws plum, and you're like, plum's the color to throw, or was there a specific reason you chose plum there?
There's only two big worms I'll throw, and the only time I really throw a big worm is in the summertime when it's hot and the water was super hot, and you know I was on offshore fish, so I got 100 count bag of plum, and I have 100 count bag of blue flick. Those are the two colors. If they don't bite one of those anywhere in the summer, I'm just not going to catch them. So,
all right,
it's just the deal. So I threw that. I caught the 100K fish, the big bass on this hair jig that David Allen, who's a friend of mine, he started selling them. They started selling them through True Bass after that, but he tied these up in his garage.
Folks, if you're listening on iTunes, it looks like a small chicken. Like, it's a bulky hair jig.
Yeah.
White hair jig, something. It's a TVA ledge hair jig, right?
It is. It's a 5/8. And I was just pounding those fish for 4 days, and I just was like, you know, I want to try something different, so I picked this up and a 7-pounder ate it.
No, okay, here's my question on that. I've always wanted to ask you this. Why was that even in your boat?
Well, it wasn't in my boat to start the tournament, I don't think, but I put them in my boat. They were in my truck, and I was like, you know, I had one rigged up, and I'm like, I'll dig it out of the rod locker. I didn't even have it on the deck, and it was in the rod locker, and I was like, I'll just chunk it out there, and, you know, it was kind of a hard spot, and I don't know. It was a lucky bite, too.
Had you ever heard of them catching them on a hair jig there? I mean, what made you do that? Because no one would ever do that. Like, a normal person, I don't feel like, unless I'm.
Yeah, I mean, normally you don't have a hair jig, but I was offshore. The fish were really on this spot. It wasn't like I knew I was throwing around some fish. It wasn't like I was, you know, just blindly chunking it out there. And I just wanted to give them something different. I don't know why, but I dug it out of the rod locker, and I was like, I need to try it. And it was a lucky bite.
7.5, right?
Yeah, 7.5. Caught one fish on it, and but I caught a lot of fish cranking, 2.5.
Oh, that is chewed up.
I broke off my
eyes.
I broke off the one that really was chewed up. I actually broke it off on a fish, I think. Yeah, I think I had one hit it going the other way and snap me, but it was extremely chewed up. But I had a couple of these, but I was throwing it on 20-pound test, so it wasn't running very deep. And I tried a bunch of different square bills, but I I wanted a big bait that didn't run very deep because it was only like 5 foot.
So you had 3, 6. How much did you win total there?
200
heavy hitters.
Yeah,
so we're at $800,000.
Yeah, and this swim bait I caught them on it too. But look, the power, the plum,
Oh, it
was
bled into it. Is that a Scottsboro?
That's a Scottsboro.
Should I not have said that? That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't care.
Okay. I don't know. Some people then they'll be like, "I can't believe you said that. I won't be able to get them for a month now."
But yeah,
that swim bait. A lot of guys use that swim bait.
Yeah, and I'm not a big swim bait guy, but I was around some big ones. I was like, I'm gonna throw it, and gosh, they crushed it.
And they're pretty reasonable too. They're like what, $8 a piece for one that size.
I don't even know what they cost, honestly.
I'm just putting it in my head now. We're at 800,000. I don't think you've held up a bait that retails for more than $9.
Yeah, that jerk bait.
Oh yeah, that jerk bait would be 23, 24.
And so the first tournament, the first ever MLF tournament, I made the last day. You went to that new Lake Garcia, and I wanted.
Yep.
I started out flipping a general, just a black and blue worm.
What head is that on? Oh, that's just a Texas rig.
Yeah, Texas rig. Caught them on that, and I picked up. So I had these. These was kind of this is a Jackal break blade, and I was wanting to throw it down there in Florida because I don't know. They were I just got some. I don't know why I even had them, but it's not a very popular chatterbait. But this thing runs like super shallow, and
really?
Yeah, it ran super shallow. So I was throwing over hydrilla that was like barely under the surface and burning it, and I was killing them on Toho or on Kissimmee, and I went to the Garcia and ended up winning on that.
See, I feel like your trailer's on upside down.
Yeah, I think it is.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah, I think I rigged. Well, yeah, I think I rig it the other way now, but it didn't.
Okay. So that's just a bladed. But hey, so let me ask you this while you have that. Do you ever wonder while you're just laying in bed at night why fish eat a stick bait when you're flipping it on like a heavy weight, especially when you flip a stick bait like a green pumpkin or something that's like the color of everything you're flipping it in? Like why does that work when there's no wiggle, there's nothing, and there's certain times when it's the deal? Like, you ever think about that?
I don't really lay in bed at night and think about those type things, but I just know certain things work in certain places, and this is a staple in Florida, and it works. It really works down there, especially more than anywhere for me. So I just like to pick up baits that work, Matt.
I hear you. You got anything else there?
That's all I got. I just wanted to show you that real quick.
No, that was good stuff, man.
Yeah.
That was really good stuff. I want to kind of close this out and talk there's a lot of people in the industry that have known you since you were. How old were you when you did 20?
Yeah, probably 20 or 22, probably
22. Talk about the past decade of kind of learning the industry side of it, because you're one of those guys. I mean, there's guys that are like, man, they attack the industry side. They have everything buttoned up, but you fall under the category, and I think you would agree with this, of a guy who just wants to fish and has to, I don't want to use the word deal, but doesn't strike me as someone who's super enthusiastic to take time off the water to do appearances and business and post and videos and YouTube and all that. Like, dude, you just want to fish. So talk a little bit about kind of your development and maturity over the years and kind of your business, your game plan moving forward, for what you've learned from the time you've been 22.
Oh, yeah. I've learned a lot on the business side of things. Obviously, when you're starting out, that's the time when you need the most help when it comes to sponsors and just any partnership. And that's the hardest time to get them. And because you obviously don't have the tournament wins or maybe the following or anything like that. And, starting out just trying to find your way. And luckily we had a little bit of the name from the college series, which was just the right timing for that, because it just wasn't, it wasn't super big and super popular. It was just starting when I was, so I had a little bit of a jump start then, and I had, but progressing, the tournament wins obviously help. Having those, it makes it a lot easier. And it's not easy by any means, and it's not like anything's just gave to you, but it helps the process more as far as with the brands that I've worked with and have worked with over time, and getting new partnerships and knowing how to deal with that. And I feel like I've grown a lot, and I don't know. I mean, I've just learned how to approach certain companies, and I don't really know how to say it, but I guess I've understood what they're looking for in a partnership, and just try to be smart with it, because I know, I knew from an early age, and I knew from when I started that that's the way that you really make a living in this industry, and help these companies as much as you can, selling product, and the tournament wins definitely help that.
There's not that many people in the industry who can put their signature series reel on their signature series rod and catch fish on their signature series baits. You're one of those guys now. Is that pretty cool to walk out into the shop and everything says Jordan Lee on it?
It's really cool. Honestly, it is a dream come true in that aspect. Is when you get signature products, and that's one of the reasons that I chose specifically some of the companies that I work with, Berkeley and Abu being one of them, and they're my main my main deal, and my biggest partnership is because when I thought about leaving Strike King and Quantum, I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like I had a future and where I could maybe grow with a company and potentially come out with some signature products. And it wasn't until like a year and a half ago, kind of had talks about the rods and the reels, and that's the newest thing I got going. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really cool to have your name on something and to really, really, really like the product too. That's another thing. And it just be everything you want too. And I've really been excited about the rods and the reels, because, that's the one thing I got a lot of input on. Some things, that I've done in the past, I haven't got to do exactly what I wanted to. And the companies, already have that in their mind, what they want to do. But on the rods, I had a lot of input on those.
How long does that process take? What do they send you blanks and you say, make it different, then you send it back, and it just back and forth until you get one and you're like, it's right?
Yeah, pretty much. And they have an idea of kind of what the price range and the what style blank they want to use that may be the best for, sales. They're obviously wanting to sell a lot of rods, and then, if it's okay with me, and I'm cool with it, but it takes, probably, over a year, easily year and a half to start to finish, and get all the actions right, the guides the way I want them, and all that, and to be, in the price range that we're looking for too, where we think that they're affordable, but yet, that anybody can pick them up, whether it's me using it in a high level tournament or a kid that just is getting started fishing. And that's kind of the, area we wanted to focus in.
A couple more questions, and I'll let you go. You've been on for like an hour, dude. I appreciate it. You brought it.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right. What's it like being a dad?
It's amazing, honestly. He's not here right now, which I'm really missing him. My wife and him are out of town with my mom, but it's amazing, honestly. I love that kid more than anything, and I've really spent a lot of time with him the last couple months, and that's all I've been really doing is just trying to be a good dad. And they're going to get to come with me a lot this year, but it really changes your outlook on life and just everything. He's number one, and it's just really, really cool experience to, he was born October 12th. So, he's only, right around 3 months, but yeah, it's incredible.
Does it make the fishing thing like more real? Like now I have to maintain this career to support a kid?
I can't imagine, like I put, in my shoes, I'm not going to say, yeah, for sure. You obviously want to provide for them. But I feel like, now it's really a time factor. I want to be there for them. And, especially these first couple years or really his whole life. I just want to, be around. So
what's his name?
Baker.
Named after Baker Mayfield, quarterback of the Browns and former OU Heisman Trophy winner.
I don't think so. No. But we looked at Kristen. Obviously, looked at a lot of names, and she really liked
it.
So
Baker Lee. So like in the first,
kind of sounds like a bull rider.
Baker Lee. Yeah, it does. There's a bull rider here in Oklahoma. I think he just retired. His name was Ryan Dirt Eater.
That's awesome.
That's a bull rider's name, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
Have you seen anything in the first 2 months that like is maybe giving you an inkling that he has like any natural talent on the water yet?
Not yet, but I felt like I'm thinking more like baseball, and his left arm seemed a little bit stronger than the right one, so I'm thinking maybe he's going to be a lefty throwing gas.
Can you decide, like, can you give them? I
don't think so.
Is it natural or is that something? Because I know in hockey sometimes, like when they're really young, they like try to make them lefties, like especially over in like Europe and up in Canada.
Yeah.
Even if they're naturally right.
I asked somebody that because I'm like, man, I think he may be a lefty, but I think they're just naturally born with whatever.
Last question I got for you then. I kind of mentioned in the beginning of this, you're 30, you have this list of accolades, and I was like, no, that number can't be right. Like, to get to where Rick Clunn is now, you've got 41 more years, 4 decades, and he's like still after it and winning. Like, how long do you want to do this?
That's a good question. I see a lot of guys that are still doing it. I'm kind of surprised they're still doing it. And they haven't kind of retired yet and just fish team tournaments or something, because I don't know. I think there's a limit. Like if I was, there's no way I'll do it when I'm, how old's Rick?
He's like 71, I think.
Yeah, I won't be doing it at that age.
Do you think there's a lot of guys that are doing it still because they're still chasing a Classic, a Red Crest, a BPT win, an Elite Series win, and that's still driving them?
I don't know if that's still driving them or just the fact that maybe they don't know what else to do with their time.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to just fish tournaments because it is fun, but there is a limit. I don't know. For me, anyways, like I really enjoy fishing tournament, all different tournaments, whether it's just a local tournament or one that's that I'm paying a high entry fee and there's a big prize. each one I enjoy just as much as the other.
Yeah, you're still fishing like BFLs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I mean, honestly, if there's something that like I'm fishing jackpot wildcat tournaments, like, and have just as much fun in that as I do going out and fishing. I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's good. You ever been through a period of burnout where you're just like, I don't really want to go fishing? I mean, like you do it a lot. Like we talked about this before.
Yeah, I do it a lot. I don't do it like a lot, but I do it a lot more than other guys probably that fish professionally. You know, they're not going out probably fishing a Saturday wildcat, you know, here and there. But I mean, I don't like do it every day where I'm just completely burnt out, but I see myself doing it. I don't know how many more years, but I mean, obviously a lot. I'm only 30. So
what else do you want to win? What's on the list? You win one more major tournament.
I can win one more.
Yeah, you're winning one more major tournament across anything. It could be an NPFL, it could be an Elite Series, it could be a BPT, a World Championship, whatever. You get an AOY, you get one more major champion, one more major accolade in your career.
I'd like to win one in Alabama on either Guntersville or Smith. I don't really care what it is. I'd like to win
in the home state
on a home lake. Yeah, that would be cool.
That's a good answer. Dude. Thank you for bringing it today on the second day. I mean, it's my first solo show without a co-host. Dude, I had fun, man.
I had fun too. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely watch the show a lot. I mean, especially when I'm driving and I'll listen to everybody, and you know, so I enjoyed the show. You did a good job.
What's that hat that you're wearing? That's a cool hat.
Yeah, Kristen got it for me. I don't know what it is. I've got some compliments on it though, but
it's like a bass shape with the American flag on the inside of it.
Yeah, I don't know what brand it is, honestly. I think she just bought it and she said, "Yeah, here's your new hat." So
it's slick though. Thanks for breaking it out.
You got a hat too. What's your hat? You got a bluegill on yours.
No, that's a crappie. So this hat, I might as well just plug him. So I got a buddy, Adam Bartuzek. He's done some filming with Scott Martin and stuff in the past, but he's up in Minnesota and they're ice fishermen. Like they're genuinely northern. Like let's drink some beer. Ice fishermen, and he started this series called the Crappie Chronicles on YouTube. And like last year when they started, he had like 10 YouTube followers, and now as they're in the second season, they're getting like 20,000 views a show.
Wow!
So he's got the merch, and it's there's like 4 guys. So it's like Adam's the one who like kind of designed it and filmed it. Yeah, Adam Griffey's like a professional ice guide. Matt Waldron, he's I guess kind of like the Jordan Lee of ice fishing. And then Ryan Pincala, who's like a master chef and stuff, and they drop all these episodes on the Crappie Chronicles. So I actually like went up and was on a couple of them last year, had never ice fished before. And so we traded some merch. The only problem is I haven't sent the BTL merch to Adam yet, and Adam's like on top of things and has actually sent the merch. Yeah. So yeah, check it out on the Crappie Chronicles. It's cool. It's like really, they just actually got the guys from Spit and Chicklets, which means absolutely nothing to you since you're from Alabama and don't follow hockey, but they're like gods up north with podcast and broadcasting of hockey, like a bunch of former NHL guys. They got them out on the ice, and they actually did, I think, a bunch of stuff on the ice with them, so it was really cool. So yeah, this is the Crappie Chronicles hat.
Shout out to them. That's cool.
Yeah. BTL merch still available in the merch store. That store didn't close. It's just going to remain open if you want a BTL hat too. I need to hook you up with that. I hooked you up. I gave you, I think, one of the first ever College Bass Zone hoodies. It was like black with like a green Z in it back in the day. But that was when you were getting so much merch and so much attention. I'm sure that ended up like as a youth tournament giveaway somewhere.
Youth tournament giveaway. What year you think did you give that to me?
It'd have been 2014 or 2015. That's I said. You were just getting it. You were inundated.
If it was 2014, it may have ended up in a bar somewhere or something.
Yeah.
Left, I don't know.
Maybe. All right, Jordan. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Take care.
I appreciate it.
All right, you're the man. See ya. There you go. That is Jordan Lee. Thank you for the time that he gave us. That was some good stuff. I did not know he was going to bring it with $1 million worth of baits. One more thing that I want to talk about as we close out Tuesday on BTL. After you're done going over and watching the Crappie Chronicles Season 2, which is ice fishing that I know nothing about, but it's fun, Kings of Bass. I don't know if you followed that. It's with Strike King, Luz, the whole team over there. They do like awesome kind of movie style, documentary styles on guys on the BPT who are Strike King and Luz guys and guys on the Elite Series, Hackney and all those guys. But they are debuting today. Like one of the things that I used to always watch is Strike King Pro Team Journal, the TV show. And I believe, if I read this correctly, that it's going all online on the Kings of Bass YouTube. Just like type in Kings of Bass on the YouTube, and they're kicking off the season today. It debuts with a Todd Castledine and Faircloth at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So they really do. I'm going to get one of the guys on who does some of the filming for that, because they are taking that next level with what they're doing with the Kings of Bass. So that's it for a Tuesday. Thanks for sticking around. Feedback always welcome. You can just Instagram me, send me an email, matt@basszone.com. I got to start getting ready for tomorrow's show. It's a pretty big show tomorrow. Backing up Jordan Lee with Jason Christie. I would imagine part of that is going to be the story of how he killed a deer. I saw a picture on his Instagram of that. But other than that, that's all we got for a Tuesday. Let's see if I pull this up. There's the close. Flawless today. We're out of here.